welcome to our show once again on Anidi TV. Today, I am honored to have in the midst Captain Baba Awuni. I call him the Major. Welcome, Captain.
Thank you very much.
Recently, I sat down with Nana Aduma Kunyamiche, and he shared his bitterness over the celebration of June 4th in Ghana. But before we go on to that topic, who was actually in charge between 15th of May and June 4th?
I think I would be wrong if I tried to put my finger on one particular person.
Okay.
Because I was serving then.
Okay.
And I remember that period I was during on a course. So my attention was focused on my military course at the time. But obviously, there would have been some officers, who were involved.
Okay.
But I really cannot say who was the leader.
I've recently heard that a Champon was actually under house arrest or probably deposed from position as the president or the leader of the country at the time. And that probably gave Rollins the opportunity to stage that coup on 15th May.
Well, 15th May was an attempt.
Yes, an attempt.
Yes.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have been the reason. I mean, he had his own reasons for, making that attempt.
Okay.
But it was more of a protest. If you look at the way, he conducted it, was more of a protest, not, staging a coup d'etat as such, because that would have involved a lot of movement of soldiers and, but I don't think that was his aim.
So it was just a protest, not an attempted coup as most people have been actually illustrated. Probably a lot of people keep saying that an attempted coup or a failed coup d'etat on the 15th of May, so it wasn't.
Yes, because, if those days, if you were going to stage a coup or attempt a coup, you were aiming at a number of areas to take control of.
Okay.
And one such place was the broadcasting house.
Right.
He didn't get anywhere near there. So if you look at it, and unless he tells you that he was, that's what his plan was. Yeah. Otherwise, looking at the mechanics around it, it didn't look like the aim was to stage a coup. It was, I saw it as a protest.
Right. But what would that test be? I mean, what was he protesting against or for?
There were all kinds of talks about, corruption and hardship in the army outside. And he was more concerned about the army.
Okay.
That's what he said.
Okay.
So the protest was about, change. Something should happen for a change and so on.
But you were in military at the time. Was there real hardship, as people have been saying?
The hardship wouldn't have been, it would have been limited to maybe certain people. Those of us in the army who were sort of cocooned in a way, who were not usually in town to do things and so on. But obviously, there were people who were aggrieved, they were not getting on, just like it's happening now. People were not happy. And those days, it was almost like to get rid of a government, stage a coup.
Okay.
So yes, I would say it wasn't something that got to that sort of level. But if one coup had been staged earlier because of mismanagement and bad governance, then anyone's attempt to change it would not just be going to stand on the podium and shout, but to take action. And when soldiers say they are protesting, it's almost like, a coup d'etat is being staged as soon as they come out of the barracks, because you can't stage a coup d'etat in the barracks. You have to come out into the civil street and take control of, government.
You were a captain at the time. You were a captain. On that 15th May, what actually happened on that day? I mean, aside us hearing of protest and whatnot, what actually happened? What did he do for Rollins to present himself as a protester against the then government in charge?
I will not be able to give you the stage by stage.
Yeah.
But the part that I knew I was on my way from the castle. I was then serving with the 4th Battalion.
Okay.
And 4th Battalion provided the castle with the guards.
Okay.
And the company that was there was, I belonged to it.
Okay.
So I was living with the company in the castle while I was doing my training in Birmingham.
All right.
So it was in the morning on my way to Birmingham that my brother, who was driving me along Sweetback Road, saw guys running. We were almost at the Elwak Junction when we saw some guys running. And we stopped to ask why they were running like that, because it was like life and death. And they said there was coup, there was firing, war, in Birmingham. So he turned around and took me back to the castle. He said he was going home, because the whole thought was that there was a coup d'etat. So the best place was home. And for me, I had to go back to my base. And at the time, that was the castle. So I went back to the castle and made the announcement to my officer commander, who then took over from there. Okay. Yeah. So the rest of it, we heard, that Flight Lieutenant Rollins and some soldiers were making some moves and they had been apprehended. That's what we heard. And later it was confirmed as such. Okay.
A lot of times you hear Boachi Jan referring to the release of Rollins. I mean, he probably was quite involved in the release of Rollins on that fateful day of June 4th. But after they released him, they led him to the broadcasting house to make an announcement. Why did they make him, Rollins, give that announcement on that day and not Boachi Jan? Do you think, to me, I'm thinking, was Boachi Jan planning, again, in case he fails, then they can still hold Rollins captive?
If I have to analyze that sort of situation, I would have understood why Boachi Jan would have given way. Because Rollins was seen as the leader, the focal point. So if he was released, they were actually friends. I think they were mates. Yeah. So if he was released and he went on, he would not have had as much support as Rollins had, even if you look at it that way. So it was important for the organization to succeed, to make the person who was like the focal point. And that was Rollins at the time. So Boachi Jan would not have even thought about taking control, unless, of course, Rollins wasn't in the position physically to do that. But it was because Rollins had been, arrested and was being tried. And that is why that whole thing was generated, to get him out. So once they got him out, then, you had to use him, as the leader, even if he didn't want it.
That is very strange. Because I understand there was a movement called the Free African Movement, where students, other military personnel, came together and studied for literature purposes. And unknown to others, they were planning to overthrow a government. And that was the whole purpose of that free movement, issue. So Boachi Jan played quite a pivotal role in that movement. So I'm quite surprised that he releases Rollins without even Rollins' knowledge and then present him to say, make the announcement. And later blames him for everything that happened after his second coup, overthrowing of Liman. So I'm quite confused there. But let's move away from that. Odate Wellington was killed mercilessly at the police station. I understand you have a code in the military, so if an enemy surrenders, you don't kill them, do you?
Odate Wellington was a very strong officer. Okay. The sort of person that you see, the aura around him. Okay. If you saw him, you gave him that respect. All right. In fact, he had a nickname, Sum Sum. Okay. And at the time, the role that he played should have been played by much junior people.
Okay.
marginal officers.
All right.
Commanding a small troops to, stop a coup wasn't an easy thing.
Mm-hmm.
But the little I knew of him, I met him once physically in Kumasi.
Okay.
And just standing next to him, I was shaking like a leaf.
Okay.
And the way he used to talk, he had that strength, that aura around him. And there's no way he would have just sat back there and do nothing. What happened was exactly what would have happened. I know he didn't tell me anything, but knowing how he was, he would rather die fighting than to be captured. And anyone who was involved in killing him knew that so long as he lived, they were not safe. So we're not surprised that they got in the way they did, and he lost his life. But I don't think he was dismembered. He was killed, yes, but I don't think he was dismembered. I didn't see the body, but from what we heard.
But was it right for him to be killed regardless? I mean, Rollins was probably protesting. He was put through a trial process. And now you have a major who is defending a country. And then you've gotten him at the right place.
I think it was a brigadier general.
Okay, general. Yeah. And then you've gotten him at the right place. Why don't you arrest him, put him under trial, but then to kill him in that manner?
I agree with you. I mean, you capture someone, there are certain things that you have to go through. Killing should be the last resort. Yeah. So I won't say that, they were right in doing that. They were not right at all. But in the heat of battle, when these things happen, you have to understand that, you are fighting an enemy. And who says when the enemy gets you, he's going to free you. So it's whoever comes out on top. Okay. And so if they killed him, there's no way I was happy that he went the way he did. He actually fought as a soldier. And, with him, I mean, he's a hero as far as I'm concerned. He went lower than he should have. He should have been ordering others to go and fight. But in the absence of having somebody around to order around, he took, the position himself and fought, and he died fighting, which is really honorable. And those who killed, I'm not trying to exonerate them or anything or justify. I'm just telling you the reality that in war, you're facing each other with weapons. Whoever fires the first shot that hits the target becomes the winner. And that's what happened.
A lot of people have also lamented that most civilians were calling for blood to flow. In fact, one interview by Rollins, he made comment that if he had not acted in the way he did, the country would have erupted. What do you think of that? I mean, he said the country is in so much chaos, a lot of people struggling for no reason, because we had the resources, but finances and corruption were just everywhere. So he had to act, and he was enforced to act by the very people of his country. Other than that, the country would have been in a worse state than it was when he took over.
Yeah, I think in his position as the head of state, there were lots of issues hitting him. And anyone could come and tell him that tsunami was approaching Accra. And even though it hadn't been forecasted, he would, react as if there was something actually happening, because he was listening to people. He had to. He could have done something about it. And I still would say that anytime. But the action that he took was what he felt like taking at the time. So that's what he saw. But I still feel that he could have. Maybe he would have lost his life, trying to. But if you're a leader, your actions should be your own responsibility. At the time when they said, let the blood flow, who said they meant natural blood? Who said they meant what they said? Because I remember asking some students who were doing some kind of national service, cocoa evacuation in the eastern region.
All right.
And they said, no, hey, whose blood should flow? They should try them and jail them if they, they wrong the country.
Okay.
So the few guys that I spoke to, that's what they were saying to me.
Okay.
I said, you guys, you want blood to flow. You know how blood is. And they said, as for them, they just want the right thing done. They want freedom, they want this, they want that. You see, so if you are, at the top and then you hear all kinds of comments and somebody says, if you don't do this, we're going to do that to you, then you probably will take an action which will just suit one side, not the other side. Now, when there's a blame, you take it. You can try to justify it, but it's not all justification that will be acceptable. Because now some people lost their lives. And in hindsight, that shouldn't have been the case. But it happened. Now, what do you say? Sorry. That will not bring them up. But you will still have to apologize. And let it come out of you that, you've done something wrong. And we are human. Like, it is possible to do that. It's possible to make a mistake, if you don't know what is going on. And in his situation, there were people who wanted favors. There were people who wanted all kinds of, things for themselves. And therefore, they had to catch his attention. And catching his attention meant that they could say anything to put somebody into trouble without thinking. And if you look back at most of the actions that were taken, they were senseless. They were senseless. There was an old lady in Kumasi. And there was some kind of search because I had to move back from Accra to Kumasi after my course. And that was when June 4th had happened. And soldiers were talking about people hoarding and so on. And it was actually civilians who were reporting to soldiers. That there's this, there's that. This woman has been hoarding all these things. Now, the soldiers went into town. It was difficult to control them because officers had been put under close arrest. And if you take a 4th Battalion, for instance, there were just a few young officers, about, I think 5 or 6 platoon commanders. They couldn't do anything. So they went into town. And this old lady had 36 half pieces of cloth taken from her. 36 half pieces. And she was about 65 or something like that, 65 years old. And she came crying that, they were her staff. She wasn't hoarding. But they had taken them. We had to look for those items. And she got them back. Now, I was saying that 65, if she was saving half a piece of cloth every year, when she became 25, should have had more than that. So what is that about hoarding? You see, but this was the thing. Some people would create a situation just to go out and do whatever they wanted to do. And that was some of the situations that, people could not control. Like it was happening. There were 4 of us looking for this, so you're trying to control them. But it was difficult. Because discipline had virtually broken down. So if you were not careful as an officer and you went to mess around and you did something to somebody, you disciplined somebody, and they had it at the back of their mind that they were going to revenge, you're on your own, because you won't know what they're going to do. You haven't thought about that. And then they come at you, So some of these things happened, and not because people were asking for it, but certain individuals generated them. They generated these issues. Unfortunately, the leader will take responsibility. The only way you can get out of it is say that it didn't happen. But if it is proven that it happened, then you have to take responsibility for it. Otherwise, then don't be a leader. You'll be criticized everywhere you go.
During the Champions regime, the local government was actually active. You had the Town and Planning Council. Sanitation was something I heard you can boast of. What happened to Ghanaians at the time? As compared to even now, where everybody litters everywhere they want, anyhow. What was wrong with the Champon's government?
I wouldn't say there was anything wrong with his government. Because a lot of these things started happening before he took over. Okay. What happened after Kwame Nkrumah is what we should be asking.
Okay.
I grew up in Tema. And Tema had 2 communities before we relocated to Tema. And Tema was very clean. Community 1, Community 2. I was there before Community 4 and 5 were started. And everywhere was clean. You could actually use skating boards on the pavement. Like you have walkways over here. Okay. Tema was like that. Street lights everywhere.
Oh, okay.
And there were bins along the way that you didn't have to throw litter anywhere. You had bins over there. In schools, we also had bins. So we were told where to put them. If I were taught, so you will not litter. Okay. The only litter you find around will be dry leaves. Okay. But not like paper and somebody throws plastic around like things. Nobody would do that. But it got to a point where there was a lot of indiscipline. You see. And indiscipline means that it would multiply. So you have one person doing something bad, the next person sees that and they copies. So 2 people. Now those 2 people would do it again. So they've got another 2 people to see them doing, and it carried on, went on and on and on. The shameful part of it is the fact that now the system that should be in place to check all these just broke down. Those days we had the people they called Tangasi. Okay. But it was actually town council. Yeah. Town council officials. Yeah. And if you saw them coming, you would have to dash in there and tidy up. Mess up your rooms, but outside, tidy it up. Otherwise, you'll be taken to court. And what happened to those? They just vanished like that. Because there was no continuity. The system wasn't there to just carry on. Education wasn't there. We in primary school were taught how to cross the road. And physically, we were taken to the gate, zebra crossing, and taught how to cross. I attended Chidase Primary School in Tema. Okay. How you cross the road from the school to Site 5. Okay. So you see one way of crossing, it is the same way. And there are stop signs, for vehicles to stop. Okay, those days there weren't that many vehicles. But even if it was one vehicle, it stopped. Bicycles stopped. And, if you offended, you didn't go scot-free. Just like if you littered, they will drag you to court. People are lazy. If you give them the chance. So the guy feels that, there's rubbish in the, here, and just take it out. And nothing happens. Let me tell you this one quick. A clip was taken in, it went viral on WhatsApp. And while it was raining, these 2 ladies came out with rubbish from their household. And they were pouring it in front of their house because water was running past the front gate and carrying the rubbish. And you know where that was going to. Going into drainages. And some will get choked, but eventually they end up in the sea. Yeah. And this person, I thought, gosh, if we had a lot of people doing that. And I think about a day or so later, it was carried on one of the news channels. Yeah. And they followed it up and went to arrest the 2 ladies. Okay. They went to the house and got them. What has happened to them, I don't know that. But this is the mentality. Instead of carrying the refuse to the right place, no, they just pour it there and let it go. Now, if nobody has seen that, or if they didn't follow up to arrest them, a lot of other people will do it. And I know a lot of people do it. You can see them, they just by the drain, go and empty over there. And nothing is happening to them. So one person does it, gets away free, other people will copy. Why should they travel a distance to go and dump rubbish? And nothing happens to them. So it is all about the management. And then ensuring that offenders don't go scot-free. One person, it doesn't matter. If you can spend so much to get that one person in line, other people are going to copy that one person and not do the wrong thing. But if you let them escape, other people are going to see and they will do worse. Motorbikes.
Okay.
They get to traffic lights, they don't stop. Look left, look right. Sometimes they don't even look. They zoom through. Motorbikes, you're on the road, you're supposed to stop. And sometimes the policemen are standing there and they don't do anything. It didn't start with just like yesterday. It started with a few of them. And they allowed them to go. 2004 to 2008 or so, armed robberies, I shouldn't even say armed robberies, daylight robberies were being conducted with the use of motorbikes. Snatch bags, get on the motorbike and they go. And the way you would have thought you would apprehend them would be at traffic lights. But now they don't even have to stop. And that is continuing. You don't know who they are. And so all the wild people, all the bad people can just go on motorbikes and do what they want. I know there are some guys who get to the lights and they stop. There are these bikers, some of them are my friends, and they have a biking club. Okay. And I tell them they should educate the others. They get to the lights and they wait, all their Harley Davidsons and so on, and they're waiting. As soon as the lights change, they go through. But a lot of others, majority will not stop. And nothing is being done, so they'll carry on. Something has got to be done to protect the law, to ensure that all of us obey the law. But if it's not being done, then I'm sorry. Everything that has been there before will just be washed away. And that is what is happening now. The old days, I keep talking about Tema. Tema was so clean. Go to Tema now and you will not recognize the place. And I remember those days, any visitor, foreign visitor who came to Ghana, had to visit Tema, with or without Nkrumah, had to visit Tema to see this model township. Now it's something else. Because we haven't sustained all the plans that were put in place about this.
And it started right after the overthrow of Nkrumah.
Well, it started breaking down.
Okay.
Because those days, it didn't matter who you were. I mean, sometimes people were kicked out of office by a radio announcement. I was a kid, but 1 p.m., you find everybody standing by the radio. You want to listen to the news, whether you're still in a job or not. It was that serious. But when that went past, it was almost like, hey, people wanted freedom to do things, and they didn't have it. Dr. Kwame Nkrumah will not allow that. And all of a sudden, they had that freedom, and they start pushing, checking themselves to see whether they can get away. And it hasn't stopped. If you take the motorway, I use the motorway a lot. And it's getting worse. It's getting worse. And a lot of rubbish. The other day I saw a video clip, and this citizen, a Kenyan citizen, I said, I love the guy. And I wish we could multiply him by a few hundreds. We will be okay. He stopped this vehicle, and out of it came a foreigner, an Asian, and got them to go back and pick later. They had thrown something out of the car. And they followed it. This has been recorded. It's on WhatsApp. Followed them, they went and picked it, and this guy was so apologetic. And I thought the guy was going to say, but there's a lot of rubbish alive. But he kept quiet because this guy was insistent, and he made a nice documentary. And I just pray that somebody somewhere in authority would use that and do something. Because if you allow one person to go, somebody else will do it. Somebody else will do it. Now, in the 80s, about 82, before I left the service, in the eastern region, well, to be precise, Achiansi or down area, there was someone who threw paper out of a vehicle, and the truck was just going. We tried, blew it around, this guy would not stop. Eventually, we overtook him. Maybe within a mile. Oh, just to make a statement, we made them turn around, and they went and picked the litter. Now, we all felt bad that innocent people were being punished. But when we asked for the person who threw the litter, nobody wanted to own up because they thought soldiers were going to molest them. But we got them to turn around. They want to pick the litter. I'm sure they never wanted to do that again. And if anybody attempted it, the rest of them will shout. Yeah. Now, I'm told by friends, and I want to experience that one of these days, that if you are in a trotro and the driver is misbehaving, sometimes they even use the phone, not hands-free, use the phone while they are driving passengers. And when they come, say, oh, shut up. Yeah. Just keep quiet. You are bad luck or something. So those law-abiding ones will keep quiet. Meanwhile, the driver is messing around. You know, if we don't talk, nothing's going to happen. Potholes in the motorway. And to patch the potholes in some areas, bitumen has been put in there. Bitumen plus concrete. I don't know how they gel, but in all of those areas, you still have potholes because the bitumen has sunk. And where they put rocks inside there, there's a bad bump. I wish I can, maybe if I thought you were going to ask me this, I would have taken some clips for you to see. You see, and this is wrong. It is not for you and I who are using the road to deal with that. It's somebody who is being paid to deal with that. Where is that person? Even if you're driving a V8 with all the good springs, you will definitely feel that, you know, that bump when you get there. And like we're saying, those the good days gone past, there were highway patrols. And you had all these gangs, certain distances. And anytime there was a pothole or a part of the road needed repair, the gang in that area did it. Within a day or two, it was done. Where are they now? The pothole develops and it will stay there for a long time because we haven't allowed the systems to work and we don't even want to get the systems to work. That is how I put it. Because if the motorway is concrete and you're going to patch it up, go and look for cement. How much would that take for you to put that there? But you come and put bitumen in there. Oh, come on. And now, on the motorway, if you want to take, hey, go into that lane, the slow lane, and overtake. Because the fast lane is taken by big trucks. What can you do? And somebody has to control that. I can't do it. Whatever I do, because sometimes I'm passing and I wave at them. You know, do this. You know, wave at them. You should be on this side. They don't mind me. So it means that I don't have the authority. That's police. Why can't they do patrols? And I bet you, if they even attempt to correct that, within a week or two, there will be some difference. You get to the motorway, toll booth, and the filthiest area is around there. And you know what? The tickets. A lot of people will they get a ticket, £1 or 50p, and then they throw it outside. But that is an area, of course. When you get to certain places, like in the UK, where you have toll booths, you get there, they are very clean. Go back home and go and see. When I'm going to Bolga from Accra, I go through 9 of them, nine of those booths. And each one I pay 1 cedi like that. And I feel sorry for those sitting in there because all they get is smoke. No face mask or anything. And all these articulated tracks blowing into them. So, the people who should be inspecting all this, where are they? Where are they? You can't tell me that there's no money to do that. Some volunteers have been out there. We've got a lot of retired soldiers, retired army officers, retired policemen, retired service personnel. And all of these, a lot of them are even in the villages. Give some of them some opportunities. Tell them, oh, from here to here, you are responsible in your village. And see what they do. You still pay them pension. So even if you give them a little money and say, do this extra for the country, I bet you they will do something. Of help.
Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll speak more. Thank you.
Maintaining a presence at the forefront of a global issue with the desire to help others come to a resolve in personal and business affairs is why Andy D Legal and Immigration Associate was established.
We specialize in overseas British passport applications, bails and temporary admission, deportation and detention cases.
The profound pattern in achieving positive results with fragile cases in immigration, nationality, European Union and human rights law, adoption, marriage, divorce, litigation, and so on up to date has been broken, and that is why our client base continues to expand.
We also do representations at the UK border agencies and overseas consulate, human rights law, and settlement and leave to remain applications.
We have the right keys to unlock any case across the spectrum of law, locally in London and across the borders in Ghana, where our other branches are established.
We are located at 44 Broadway, Stratford, E15 1XH. Our telephone number is 0203 1300 751. Welcome back. Now, just before the break, we were talking about sanitation as well as getting the ex-military personnel probably to work or to assist the situation. Every government that has come has seen, from a Champon to the Rollins to Atamil, to Kufuor to Atamils, to Mahama and to Akufo-Addo now. What do you think we need? Do you think we should just take away human rights and go back to military regime?
I don't think it's an issue of taking human rights, because if you do that too, then we're going to the extreme. If for 19 years, let's say one individual, Private Lieutenant Rollins, had power, and he wasn't able to turn Ghana into a first world country.
Ethiopia.
Yeah. Then you aren't going to have any kind of force which is going to create that. It is all about education and about pride. You see, we need to have that kind of pride put into us. Sometimes it's difficult to say, I'm teaching you pride. But whenever Ghana does well outside, we're all saying, yeah, Ghana. And meanwhile, some people haven't done anything just because they are linked to Ghana one way or the other. They claim credit. It's about how we want to change our society, and it's about education of the people. Talking to people, respecting people. If somebody has got so much qualification and he hasn't got a job, and you leave him, to roam around, other people are going to say, oh, then there's no point in getting all these qualifications. So they aren't going to be bothered. But the person in there hasn't got a job, even with all the educational background they have, and you leave them there. You have to manage to deploy them somewhere. So that others will see them and say, look, whatever you do, if you're good, you get a place. And when it is even impossible to get them a place, talk with them. Because people are always ready to divert and do something else which will make them useful. People want to see that whatever they've learned or whatever they can do is being appreciated. And if you don't give them that chance, other people who haven't even thought about that will just think that, there's no point in forcing yourself. Now, we have this situation where guys are talking about democracy and we're taking it too far. It's because we're not applying the laws. And then we waste too much time. And then there's lack of education. And people doing whatever they want. You see, if you, as a leader, you do what you want. And when I talk about leader, I don't mean the president. It's not just the president. Even if you are in a small company. And you're in charge, you're a leader. If you don't show the example, why do you want other people to copy that? And then when you are showing the example and the others are not copying, you make them. You make sure that they'll do what you want. Now, if you don't make sure that they do what is expected of them, you don't correct them, they will continue to do bad things. Others are going to follow the same way. So, if you say you're going to take a whip and crack, make a mistake and then you raise the whip, you don't have to do that. You don't. Beating children sometimes it's not necessary. The other day, one of my friends saw a kid asking another kid for a sweet. So my friend told this kid, somebody's kid, told the kid, oh, did you ask for food? You don't have to beg for food. If you want it, just tell mommy that you want something. And you get it, okay? He said, okay. I looked at the kid. He was looking at me. Then I turned my head somewhere. Then I looked at him again. Started walking. Oh, within a few seconds, he broke into, crying. He was crying seriously for the next 5 minutes. He was ashamed. Nobody shouted at him. Nobody raised a stick at him. And funny enough, this was right after church. So I don't think anybody would have attempted to do something bad. But the guy got ashamed. And he cried. He said, oh, don't cry, don't cry. And I said, gentlemen, don't cry. So don't cry. Okay. Didn't mind me. He was feeling very ashamed. A kid, maybe 2 years. So it means the education. And then, okay. So an hour later, he was asked, would you go and ask for food again? But by this time, he was very happy, running around and so on. He had learned his lesson. And I'm sure that he won't do that again. What prevents us from ensuring that this is happening? If somebody is passing by an area and the place is clean, they are not likely to drop later. They won't drop later. But if the place is filthy, they will add to it. Yeah? So it's a matter of education. And don't try to take people's rights. Talk to them. Sometimes they just don't know. We have to interact. Years ago, before I even went to secondary school, the army used to do some kind of an outreach program. And they will go to a community area where I saw them in Tema, community center, and they will come, open their vehicles and like demonstration. You go in there and see, they will talk to you nice. Oh, nice. We were very happy with them. So we didn't have to worry about, hey, there's a soldier coming. But of course, if they were holding a gun, you knew it was a different business. Yeah. So we interacted. It didn't mean that if you did something, they will not take the right action. But you shouldn't also expect that you do something silly and then they come telling you, oh, we are going to arrest you. And they say, oh, I beg you. Shut up and take the punishment. I mean, we watch a lot of videos in this country about the police and how they interact with the public. The guy stops you on the motorway and you know you are guilty of something. So you get ready for it. And they'll come and read you the Riot's Act or citation, whatever it is. Now, if he thinks that he should let you go, he will just let you go. There's nothing like, oh, get this and say. The only thing you say is, thank you very much, officer. That is the only reward that you give. But it is not the same over there. And here, even if you say you are begging, that is when
you are guilty.
You are guilty. Yeah. So we have to carry out that education. And the education shouldn't just be as the old ones who come out. That's what, as our ways are set already. Let's start from the kindergarten. And then the parents, whatever they do to the children, they should also assist. A child is not supposed to pass somewhere. Say, don't pass here. You don't have to shout at the child. Of course, I'm saying is that in the villages, they won't care. But you're talking about human rights. Don't take that away, but educate people. And when they offend, you deal with them. The guy was offended. He's supposed to do this. He hasn't done it. Offensive. There's a law for it. If there's no law, then you let the person go. But if you start saying, oh, I know this person is like that, you're not going to get anywhere. Here, ministers offend, and the next minute, they resign. Whatever they are told in the background, you don't know. But when they know they are guilty, they go. Where we come from, that doesn't happen. The guy is not working. He's not capable of working. He doesn't know what it's about. But he's not going to give way. And if we don't correct that, those who are coming from behind are learning all that. And they will even do it in a worse situation. I said better, but they said worse. Because now they've got all the gadgets and so on to repeat that. Now they can take a video clip right away and store it, play it back later. What we did years ago, no video clips of those, so you don't see. We just have to say what we did. Yeah.
Talking about that, Rollins at some point was heavily involved in communal cleaning. He partook. He took part in so many things, and that probably grew much more, enthusiasm among people. Leaders of modern day Ghana don't do any of those. Is he to be credited for some of the things? And if so, if he was much loved and disciplined in that respect, because a lot of people feared Rollins. What happened between his regime?
You see, one of the situations that we have is when you are doing the right thing, and the people who are following you don't understand your vision, and probably you haven't explained to them, or you've explained but they don't want it, and you are not encouraging them to follow your vision, you're going to have a problem. Because you can do it, but you cannot disseminate the information down to where it should go. Because as it's going down, it's being, watered and made almost useless. He was demonstrating all of that. He goes recently he was at a traffic light and directing. Because the way I saw it was that, don't say that he's showing up. He's showing some leadership by example. Now, if, let's say now, he does that, you will say that even if a former president can do this, then what about the rest of us? What are we doing? Do something. So he demonstrates it. It is left to those below to also emulate. But we know it isn't everybody who can do that. You see, the president that we have, apart from him, who was like the youngest person, how do you expect President Nanado to get into a trench? And he can't do that, But the background of Rollins as a soldier, as a young person, enabled him. And the charisma he had around him, that charisma should have projected more and affected younger guys. But they enjoyed the negative bit, not the hard-working bit. You see, and it should have been left for the authorities to turn that around, shift it around, and make sure that you put them in the right course. When I was very young, in Nkrumah's days, we had young pioneers.
Okay.
And young pioneers, we did all, kinds of things, country work and things like that. I didn't understand a lot of what was going on. But in my hard work, I was one of the last, I think I was in the first group that went to the Soviet Union. And when we came back, it was just talking about what we had done over there. And we went sightseeing. We didn't do much. I couldn't have done public speaking when I was 11, 12. But when we came back, we were like role models, and we were being taken from place to place. And we got there and were standing, obeying everything. You see us at the table, we're sitting down. And people were watching us. Our mates were watching us. So it was an example, But when we look at the situation that one person will create, like the president as we have now, it's not in the position to go and say, you don't expect to go and be running, jogging on the road like maybe Rollins would have done and so on. But some other people can do that. And give him the credit. He ordered that. He doesn't even have to tell you, go and do it. That is how in the army it is done. Once the general says, I'm taking this ground, the staff officers around him should work out how he takes the ground. You don't wait for him to come and tell you, pass this way, do that, do that, do that. No. Once you hear that he's mentioned it, or his plan is to take that ground, you will have to find out. If there's any difficulty, you tell him. If it is within your remit to overcome that difficulty, you do it. If you cannot and it's beyond you, that's when you tell him that this is what you want to do, but you have this problem. Yeah. There was a time when 4 of us did food evacuation in the eastern region. Now, what had happened then, this was 82, said hunger in Accra, and I was called to a meeting. Because my commanding officer had asked me to go to Accra and give a report to somebody, which I did in the headquarters. And after that, I was asked to attend this meeting. And when I went in there, it was a meeting on agriculture. Okay. And they were talking about where food was growing. I said, no. The farmers know where food is growing. But the problem now, and I was saying at that time, was the fact that food was getting rotten. Okay. So let's get the food out before you think about growing. If you don't get the food out, why do you grow? The farmers will not even mind you. Yeah. Because in the eastern region, we had, because of our exercises and movement around, we saw a lot of that. So I was tasked by the chairman then, Rollins, that I should do something about it, because I went and mentioned, he said, do something about it. And I said, yeah, okay. Now, I met with a few of my mates, and then we said what we needed was vehicles. How are we going to get vehicles? Then we mentioned to the district chief executive And he said, yes, if we had vehicles, then we could do that. So the next place we went to was CMB, Cocoa Marketing Board. And we asked for vehicles. They asked me how many. I wasn't too sure because I thought 10. I said, how many can you give? They said 30. I said, bring them. They brought them to the Independence Square one Saturday morning. And when the vehicles arrived, there were 35. And we had written town names on paper. So we're slapping them on the windscreen. So if you got Agona Diakwa or something, that's where you went. The people were waiting there to load the vehicle and pay for whatever. And we did that. Within 2 weeks, Accra was flooded again with food. You know? And Rollins didn't know how we did that. We don't take credit for it, but he was taking credit for it, which is okay. That was the leader. We were bringing food in. My CEO got credit because he complained about the food getting rotten and said, oh, he will sort it out. He didn't know how I got the vehicles. I couldn't go around telling people, hey, this is what I did. I'm telling you now because I need to show you the procedure. There's a process. And we got food out. The farmers were happy. The drivers were happy because now they were also getting food, you know. And now those who wanted to go and grow food, they should go and grow food because the food has been taken out. Has that continued? And I know the answer is no, because certain places are still inaccessible, you know. So it's about, you know, the leadership at whatever level, systems put in place and kept to. And we should be visionary. We should be thinking ahead what we should be doing next. You know, we should be doing next. We went to Kenya and we're diving into these, in fact, 3 homes that we went to. From the main road to the house, they had planted corn all over. And then one guy, he had about 1 meter of space in front of his house and the roadside. He had also planted corn. He said at least you get about 4 to 10 cups over there and he won't have to buy. So why can't we do that? Operation Feed Yourself. But that has to be organized. And if the people are not doing it, somebody somewhere should make it a point that they want to help to develop by doing and making people aware.
Corruption was a massive issue then and even now. I understand people were killed by Rollins for taking a loan of as little as 5 cities. But recently I've heard that it was worth more than that. It's not as little money as we think now. It was much more higher in amount than we think now. What's your take on it? And what they do? I mean, obviously I keep going back to this killing thing because I've not heard that anybody has apologized for it. Probably, even if it's not Rollins, the people that were around him at the time could also render an apology because he had advisors, he had colleagues. So, but was that the situation? I mean, people were killed over 5 cities?
That would be a bit ridiculous. Whatever amount that it took, if you kill the person, does it bring the money back? The amount that was mentioned was actually related to Colonel Roger Felly, that he took. Was it Roger Felly? Yeah, I think so. He took a loan of 50,000 cedis. And when they say 5 cedis, it's just like, how much is it now, today? And yeah, it could be 5 cedis today. But the 50,000 then could buy him a number of vehicles, could do a whole lot of work because he had, farmlands. And he was employing people. And some of them those days, you had to, I mean, if you had a business like that, then you know that you were going to get money coming in to do other things. So even if he said he was going to be, he wanted to build a house and he took that loan, he had other things that he was doing to support himself. Those days, it wasn't actually common for serving officers to be doing business outside. We were also glued on our job, that you close from work and you were tired. You either had to go and play games for fitness or you went to sleep, that kind of thing. It's not now that, people have to look at other things to do for the future. So yes, I mean, it wasn't exactly, 5 CDs. And no, they didn't have to be killed at the time. But any excuse to, They said something blood. What is it? Fill the blood or something.
Oh, let the blood flow.
Let the blood flow. You know, and so unfortunately, he got into that. You know, he was added to it. I don't know the criteria for which, you know, anyone was put before, you know, the firing squad. But in the heat of that moment, a lot of things were happening. You know, these were the prominent ones who got killed, and we got to know. But I'm sure there were lots of soldiers who also vanished the same way. You know, and for whatever reason, you know, nobody deserved to die. If the person hasn't killed, why do you kill the person? But there will be all kinds of counter arguments and so on. What I say is that, yes, you can always come back and apologize, say certain things to show remorse and that kind of thing. If you're a leader and you take credit for whatever is done, whatever good thing is done, then you should be able to take credit for whatever bad thing is done by your, you know, the people that you are leading. Yeah.
Now, corruption, how do we eradicate it from the system now?
By following the laws. By ensuring that all the counterbalances are in place. By not saying that, oh, this person, I know him, and that person say, well, I know somebody who knows somebody. You know, the person is supposed to do something, lay it down there, that this is what you're supposed to do, and that is it. And it's going to be that difficult to say, corruption is gone. It's going to be difficult. But if we don't show punishment and the process to show that people will be found out, then it's going to be difficult. Because people will find ways of doing things. Over here, how much are you going to give to a policeman, you know, on the road? You've been stopped for overspeeding. How much do you think you give to the policeman and you say, okay, bring and go? You see, you will not give, they will not ask you. In Ghana, a lot of people, you know, because they don't want their time to be wasted, they want to pay so that they can go on.
So why don't they introduce spot fines?
Well, that was one of the issues that came up, you know, with lots of you guys going back. You say spot fines and so on. Now, there was the other thing that, you know, the spot fines will not get anywhere because the monies will not be fully accounted for. But nobody has tried it. But then if the person who is supposed to implement it is saying that it's not going to work, then how do you push the person to do it? Because it's failed before it's even at the drawing board, you know. But it will take a massive number of people thinking likewise, who would then say that by hook or crook, we're getting this thing out. And then for people to take responsibility, you offend, hands up, and receive the punishment. You know, if we don't do that, then we'll have a problem. And we'll continue to stay in the situation that we are in. People are getting more and more sophisticated. I mean, there isn't any time for this recording, but I could tell you a whole lot of things that will be happening even just by using the phone. The way people try to hoodwink other people, you know, it's all part of the corruption. Because somebody can find out. You can find out who is making this call.
Okay.
Because every phone number now, every SIM card is registered. But you go to ask, and then you'll be there, it gets lost. Yeah. Then you want something to be done for you by a company. You have to go and sit down there. And I said, why don't you give me a certain period of time and tell me between 10 and 11? So I come there a few minutes to 10. You know, by 11 you see me and I'm gone. But they said, come in the morning. What time in the morning? Oh, just come. How do I just come? It's part of the corruption because now the guy comes and he wants to leave quickly. So, get this for your Coke, your Fanta. The start of it. So somebody doesn't do something for you and you just say thank you and turn around. If you do that, you're finished. Because you'll never get that again. The tipping in Ghana, I have upgraded it. It's corruption. You see, you can go to a restaurant and the person serves you and you pay. That's not what I'm talking about. It is what you are entitled to get that you are not getting. And somebody has got to do something so that you can tip the person. And the tipping, if you don't do it now, you're in trouble.
It's mandatory.
It's mandatory. If you don't do it, you're in trouble. And I think that when you guys, you know, living abroad, when you come home, you have difficulty in certain areas. And it is one of the areas. What you have to do is to continue at it. There will be frustration because the guy has talked to you and he's done something for you. He's still looking at your face and scratching his face. He wants something. Now you will not understand. I say, thank you very much. And you turn around. We all have to continue. If you can do that, everybody will understand that this is what it is. You can actually show appreciation by doing certain things. But we shouldn't make it mandatory where you are required to do it. So if somebody is given an appointment, you find the person being given stuff. Christmas or before Christmas, you don't want to be around the ministries. The vehicles that are running around with hampers from office to office, they are dumping. And I was told somewhere, oh, they didn't see my hamper. I said, you'll never see it. You know, I said to the person that I said, no, I don't do that. So if you don't want to give me the job, don't do it. But I won't bring you a hamper. The best you get is a card. But even that one, I don't want to waste your time because you don't need. I'll say Merry Christmas. And now I can text you Merry Christmas to you. But if you go there, you will see hampers. Hampers, I'm talking about hampers. Half of the traffic in Accra during the Christmas period is about hampers. And if you don't call that corruption, I don't know what it is. It's the start of it. You haven't done this. Oh, we didn't see your hamper. Hey, somebody has paid the bribe already, and it is called hamper, around Christmas. See? So we have to make that conscious effort. Everybody has to do something. Everybody has got to do something. You commit an offense, just say that I committed an offense. I'm not talking about getting lawyers out of a job. That's what I'm saying. But when it is basic, you didn't come here at 10 o'clock and you were there at 10, you shouldn't have been. Say yes. I'm saying all this, but a percentage would always be the negative, no problem. But if a little bit of majority, do things, Ghana will change just like that.
I've had a privilege to see a very classified docket during the PNDC region, where few people wanted to take over the then PNDC government and then bring it back to a proper civilian rule. They proposed a two-state, what's it called?
Two-party
state. What's your take on it? I mean, considering that there are a lot of political parties. It's just a bit dirty at the moment. Do you support the two political parties state system or?
I will not say yes. Fortunately for me, I'm not a politician, so when I go into that, I talk like a non-politician. It appears to me it was being looked at or being modeled on the American, system. Because even in the UK, we have a lot of parties, at least more than 4 or 5. It was being modeled on that. Now, that would have been difficult because you're talking about either this or that. And when you mentioned human rights earlier, human rights shouldn't restrict people to just this or that. You must have some choices. So there's no way I would say that two-party state would have been okay because there will be somebody who doesn't agree with any of them. But if you had, let's say, 3, 4, and you don't have to say that party A, party B, party C should be called this and that and that. Let them come. What can be done is to make sure that the criteria for staying there is not that small. It is high. So you are expecting some high quality. The leadership of any group coming there should be a leader that we should all realize that, hey, this person, yes. At any one time. That's why we have leadership elections before the general elections. So you know who's going to be at the front there. But if that person is not, what should I say? It shouldn't be leading even a classroom of kids or a classroom of some guys who don't know what they're about. Then what business has that person got to do with leading a whole country? Because you are making a mistake. So the only way to do it is like how it is measured. Political parties are measured. You don't satisfy a criteria, so you are disbanded or whatever. But I wouldn't have thought that a two-party state would have been okay for us. Unless, of course, they didn't say that, but if they added independence to it, then that might be another good thing. But it's best to leave it out and let us have a choice, rather than just make it a two-party state. Eventually, it's going to, maybe go that way, but it will always be difficult, just restricting it to two. So, luckily for me, at that time, I was in the army. So, if you're in the army, you're not supposed to be talking about politics. I think it's changing now, or it has changed. But our time, we're out of politics. You can think it if you want.
You cannot actually.
Yeah, you can talk it.
First of all, I'd like to say a big thank you for coming. But before we go, I know you've introduced something beautiful in Ghana. Something different.
About. Okay, so you probably saw this somewhere, a clip.
Yeah.
And it's called the emergency escape chute. And it's meant for evacuation, especially for high rises.
Okay.
2 years ago, when I was going back to, in fact, I got into London, and I was told at the airport that there was a fire somewhere. And for the next 2 weeks, all I was hearing was Grenfell Tower. And I took the time to, listen to, the commentaries that were coming. And I said to myself, oh my goodness, if this happened in my part of the world, we'll be in serious trouble. If this happened in the UK, in London, not just UK, in London, and the house bent, the building bent like that, then Ghana, I'm sorry. So we have to look seriously. Because I knew they had lifts in there, they had emergency stairways and everything. Helicopters that could have picked them, but the system wasn't made that way at all. Now, my concern was about the airport city, where we have all these high-rises. And yes, and the place is also very busy. Now, for a fire tender to even be coming in and heading towards a place would be a problem, because the traffic itself would not allow the fire tender to get there. And if they got there, it will be a bit late. The fire within 1 minute, the way it spreads, is not easy, depending on where it is. So I thought there had to be another way. So I kept researching, and I thought of this chutes used by builders, where they put barriers into each other and they come down. But when I looked at it, I said, I wish I was still in my old units, in warfare school. I used to try things, develop them, and recommend. So I thought, we could use that, but line the inside, with blankets or something thick, and I left it. Then one day, I saw something on a magazine. We have the ASIS magazine. I looked in there, and then there was some kind of escape chute. And I said, escape chute. It's chute. So what escape chute? So I checked it. And then it took me to a link. And the link got me to this guy in Australia. So I wrote to him. I said, hey, I want to see what you have. I'm dreaming about something. It looks like you got the answer. Then he said, yes. Then he sent me a mail back that he'll be sending me some stuff. Then I think a week later, I went to Dubai for a short holiday. And whilst I was there, I just thought, let me send some mail to this guy and find out when he's sending me the stuff. When I sent it to him, Peterson just sent me a response. Oh, I'm in Dubai at the moment, so when I get back, I get to Australia. I said, you are where? I'm also in Dubai. I sent the mail back. Then he gave me his phone number. I rang him. He said, when can we meet? The next day. So the next day I got there and we had a chat. Then he showed me all the stuff, what it does and so on. I said, that's the answer. That is what we need. So I told him, look, I'm very interested and I'm going to advise some friends, other people who have this in all these tall buildings, because I've checked. And the only feature they have there is the staircase. This chute, you get down and it's you who control your speed. If you want to come down very fast, make yourself small and you come down like a stone. If you want to brace yourself and come down slowly, you open your elbows and your knees. It's a simple principle that is used in it. And then you get to the ground. But it comes with training as well. So I got a demonstration chute from him, Then I thought, to demonstrate, you can't just go and build. So I ordered a scaffold from here, and they've all come. So the next thing is to advise or get to meet with the builders, developers, high-rise building owners, and so on, and say there's this alternative.
Yeah.
The cost of maintenance is so low that, you only have to be looking at it every time to make sure that it is there. But I will send you the clip.
Yeah.
And you can see how easy it is. And if we don't want to use that, then no problem. I mean, there are other sophisticated things like having helicopter on top of every high-rise. But how many people can you bring down?
Yeah.
But having said this, my whole thing is that when you have a problem, look at the solution that is easier for us from our part of the world to manage. Anything else that we're going to bring in there or we have now is not that easily manageable. But this escape chute, you put it out there, you can bring it straight down. It doesn't matter the height. And now they've said, up to 50 floors. But when you do that too, you can actually nest it. So there are kind of computation that you can do for anyone to use that escape chute. You talk about expense. Do you want to die up there or you want to come down safely? So I thought of this and I said, look, I have sent clips of that to some friends. And everybody's asking, when is this going to happen? I said, it will happen now. If you want one now, we can organize it. And I'm not even talking about the money. You can even call the company to find out what it is. The only thing is that they've made me a representative in West Africa. And it is because of my enthusiasm that, they think that I would push the product. But they're also keen on getting to know that it's being used and it's saving lives and it's going to be possible to save lives. I have a friend who is building a hospital and he says, escape chute as emergency procedure. I said, no problem. So we are standing by for him. As soon as he finishes, we're going to have this in place and let people escape from buildings free. But anybody who wants to see the clip, I will show it. And we have the demonstration kit. In fact, in the clip, there's a demo of me going through the...
Well, Mama, thank you very much for your time dedicated today. And I'll see you soon in Ghana.
You're welcome. We would always welcome you. Come with the ideas and let's try each of us in our own little way to help. Don't come and try to do what we do. Try to see what we can improve. Because I always say that some people have been past a certain point. So what we can do is to learn what they have done and adapt that to suit us in the positive way. You don't adapt negatively, positive way. And let us build our country because Ghana can easily be done. It's a matter of making people aware of their surroundings, what they should do, and make them proud. Now Rwanda can talk about a whole lot of things. We want to go to Rwanda and we want to be gateway to West Africa. We have to start. And sanitation is the first one. And then now security. But more importantly, use all the available resources. Human resource is there. The universities, when they go on holidays, what do? Send these people in groups. Let them go into various villages, talking to them. I nearly said baptizing them, but talking to them, letting them understand what they cannot get apart from their WhatsApp things and so on. We can do something so that the next generation will come armed and they can challenge other people. In the 60s, Ghana was up there. You spoke about what do you call it? Atomic energy. We're one of the few countries. But where's atomic energy? And when you say Kwabinya is now and later, people don't realize how important Kwabinya was in the world. And we lost all of that. You go to Tema, all the factories. Golden Tree chocolate, I had to struggle to get some to buy. How do I buy Mars bar chocolate in Accra and bring it to here? I won't do that. But the chocolate that I get over there, I bring them every time, push it onto people. Especially when I say, oh, this from Ghana. I say, yeah. If I get an item and there's no Ghana flag, nothing about Ghana, I don't want to give it away. I'll write it and put it there so you know it's from Ghana.
It's from Ghana.
Yeah, we have to do something. We have to do something. Well, thank you very much.
Well, this is where time will bring us. We have to do something. We all have to build Mother Ghana. Remember to subscribe on our YouTube, Facebook, and follow us on Twitter. Good day and goodbye.